If you're an older singer and you've lost notes off the top of your range, I'm going to show you that most of those notes are still there. And I'm not going to pull out a bunch of scientific studies to show you this. I'm going to show you with your own voice right now. So go somewhere where you can make a bit of noise. First, just take the NG sound of sung. And we're going to do this on a light siren, kind of quietly. And you're going to glide up with no target note. You're not going to push. You're just going to let it go up. Do it again. Now take a small woo, kind of silly, like you're teasing someone. Woo, woo. Let it go. Woo. Drop your jaw as you go up, but keep it light. Woo. Now you can use a straw in water or a lip trill. Same thing. Quiet, no destination. Don't force it. And now I want you to understand why that access closed off, because once you understand it, you can start opening it back up, and I'll show you how. If you're over 50, the vocal folds have been changing, and the closure you used to have doesn't happen as easily anymore. The seal gets less reliable. Now, how you get there depends a bit on who you are. Aging affects us all differently. In men, the tendency for the vocal folds is to thin and lose muscle mass. You'll often see bowing where the edges curve away from each other. In women, the changes after menopause are a bit different. There's often swelling and thickening in the outer layer of the vocal fold, along with more dryness, loss of elasticity. And that's why a lot of women notice their speaking voices sitting a little lower than they used to. Different roads, but the same destination. In both cases, the folds are not coming together as cleanly as they once did. And here's why that matters for your high notes. The vocal folds have to come together to resist the air. This resistance is what creates the pressure changes in the vocal tract that become sound. When they don't close efficiently, the tone suffers. You run out of air faster, and everything costs more effort than it should. So the body compensates. That's what bodies do. And it starts to squeeze. It starts to force. And that squeeze is what blocks the top of your range. Because to sing high, the vocal folds have to thin and stretch. But when you're bracing, when you're squeezing, it's like making a fist. I can't stretch this. There's no give in it. And so it feels like you've hit a ceiling. Now, I have to be straight with you about this because this is where people can get discouraged and quit. Initially, when you let go of that brace, it often falls apart at first. The tone gets weaker, breathier than the squeezed version. That's not failure. That's you removing bad compensation before you've built the good coordination. You have to rebuild strength and closure in the instrument, and that can take a little while. And if you quit during that window, you go right back to squeezing. And there's a second thing happening with older singers, and this might be the bigger one. You stopped asking. The moment those notes started feeling unreliable, you put limits on your voice. You stopped programming songs to go up there. Maybe you started transposing everything down and you wrote that part of your range off due to aging. And after 6 months of not singing a high B flat, that coordination starts to get rusty and the voice gets weaker up there. Researchers who study aging voices actually have a term for this. They call these singers vocal underusers. Underuse is measurable, and it's more common in older voices for a very human reason. When something stops being fun, when it's harder to do, you do less of it, which then makes it even harder. So it's even less fun, so you do even less of it. That is a spiral, and it has nothing to do with your vocal potential. And that's the part you can stop doing today. So here's what to do. 4 steps about 10 minutes a day. Step 1, stop reaching and start gliding. Just like I showed you at the beginning, a few minutes a day, straw phonation, lip trills, going up on soft, narrow vowels. Ooh, soft enough and light enough that it never feels like effort. And if you use a straw, the straw is going to do a good percentage of the work of bringing your vocal folds together, which means you don't have to squeeze them to get there. That's why I'm such a big proponent of straw use. And don't punch out a target note. Just glide through the region. Don't worry about landing on anything. The moment you start aiming at a note, you will start to tense up and you're right back here in that fist coordination. Then step 2, start rebuilding vocal fold closure. Again, a couple of minutes every day, light staccato onsets, comfortable vowel, comfortable middle range. Ah, 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 ah. Clean starts, not slammed. Ah, not breathy. Ha, ha. You're rebuilding the coordination of the folds coming together efficiently. And do this before you start chasing strong high notes. If you build on top of this leaky, breathy instrument, it's not going to hold. The temptation to squeeze is going to come back. Healthy closure is the foundation. Your voice sits on top of it. So we need to work this back in. And then step 3, we're going to add intensity in small doses, maybe every other day for a minute or so. Once things are starting to move a bit freer, the voice needs some load to rebuild. So you can use a calling voice. It's projected, but not pressed. It's calling out to someone across a parking lot, not yelling at them. I like to use hey, ho, he. Hey, ho, he. Not yelling, hey, no. Hey, ho, he. Now, I want to be clear about this because it runs against what a lot of people assume. The clinical research on aging voices shows we can't be gentle with the voice all the time. It needs some real intensity to rebuild. We just have to be judicious about the dose. And then step 4, spend time in the top of your voice every day. 30 seconds or so. Nice and light. It's below performance volume. And you can do this throughout the day. We're not going up there to sing with intensity. We're going up there to keep it familiar, to keep things stretched and available. Little light things like foo, 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 foo. Just touch it. And this one will compound. This one, the more that you spend time up there, the tissue, the muscles, everything will begin to respond. So it's 10 minutes a day, most days of the week. And please give this at least 6 weeks before you judge it. Even better, 2 or 3 months. 6 to 12 weeks is the window used in the actual clinical protocols. And most people, they quit after the first week or 2 because not much has changed. And frankly, not a lot's going to change in 2 weeks. That's not your voice failing. That's not your practice failing. That's how long tissue and coordination take to change. And now the honest part, look, some things don't reverse. We are aging. Cartilages stiffen, tissues change, the hormones change. You're not going to have the exact voice that you had at 25, and you're not going to have the same range potential that you had at 25. And look, if you've got things like persistent hoarseness or any pain, go see a laryngologist. You have to rule these things out that aren't aging. But here's the thing. These changes, that's not what's stopping most of you. What's stopping most of you is how you're responding to a changing instrument. You're trying to use it exactly the way you used it 30 years ago, and it needs a different approach now. That plus months or years of never going up to your highest notes. And both of these are trainable at any age. Go back to the first few minutes of this video. You very likely hit pitches you haven't touched in a long time. You hit them quietly, easily, and without trying too hard. Your voice isn't broken. That part of your range isn't lost. It's just waiting to be approached properly. And if you want to go deeper on working and restoring an older voice, you can download the full PDF of my best-selling book, The Mature Singer's Guidebook, in the link below. And do check out these other videos for singers over 50, and we will talk soon. Take care.